I'm super excited about today's sponsor. They've sponsored the podcast before, and this is a topic I'm super passionate about. I fear that us as girls struggle with PMS far more than we should, and we really shouldn't. I truly get the worst PMS symptoms. My boobs are sensitive, my face breaks out, my sugar controllings are out of whack. I feel like I'm just a bottomless pit. My mood is not the vibe, and Estro Control has been super helpful in helping manage those PMS symptoms and making that time of the month a lot more enjoyable. Estro Control is a formula developed by Happy Mammoth, a supplement company dedicated to making women's lives easier. Say no more. Estro Control contains science-backed herbal extracts that help support hormonal health, especially if you are someone like myself who struggles with PMS. It was created to help women feel like themselves all month long and to not struggle with the feelings PMS can cause. For a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code Alana at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use the code Alana for 15% off today.
Introducing Carvana Value Tracker, where you can track your car's value over time and learn what's driving it. It might make you excited.
Whoa, didn't know my car was valued this high.
It might make you nervous.
Uh-oh, market's flooded. My car's value just dipped 2.3%.
It might make you optimistic.
Our low mileage is paying off. Our value's up.
And it might make you realistic.
Car prices haven't gone up in a couple weeks. Maybe it's time to sell.
But it will definitely make you an expert on your car's value. Carvana Value Tracker. Visit Carvana.com to start tracking your car's value today.
Well. Shopping for a car?
Yep, Carvana made financing a car as smooth as can be.
Oh, yeah?
I got pre-qualified instantly and had real terms personalized just for me.
Doesn't get much smoother than that.
Well, I got to browse thousands of car options on Carvana, all within my budget.
Doesn't get much smoother than that.
It does. I actually wanted a car that seemed out of my range, but I was able to add a cosigner and found my dream car.
It doesn't get much...
Oh, it gets smoother. It's getting delivered tomorrow.
Visit Carvana.com or download the app to get pre-qualified today.
The following podcast is a Green Fresh Media production.
Hello, good morning, angels, and welcome back to Morning Ray. I'm your host, Lan or Alana, and today's episode, I have a guest on, if you couldn't see by the title, which I'm sure you did, but I have a guest on. It's my first guest in a while. My guest today is Kim Johnson. She is the head of community at Geneva. Geneva is this incredible platform. I will get you the full description. I mean, she explains it, but it is an online home for groups, clubs, and communities of all shapes and sizes. You guys know Kate Glavin. She was on the pod. She actually has her own community or home on there called CMOS Girlies. It's a part of her podcast, but she spoke about it on her episode with me. So if you want to go back and listen to that episode, or maybe you haven't listened to that episode yet, check it out. But Kate has her own thing on Geneva, and it's a really interesting conversation that Kim and I have. We discuss everything from what a community is, why community over an audience, how to build a community, and where Geneva falls into play with all of that. But until then, let's get into our weekly intentions. So my weekly intention is to really manage my anxiety. I've been noticing that my anxiety has been a bit higher lately. And you know what? I realize that is partly because I've been neglecting my self-care routine, my morning and night routine, ensuring that I'm being consistent with my movement. As much as movement can be for physical well-being, it impacts my mental health so much if I'm not consistently doing it and when I fall out of routine for too long. So I really want to stay on top of my anxiety, leaning into my toolbox. I do have therapy this week, which will be great. It's been a hot sec since we spoken to Tamar, my therapist. We love Tamar. And yeah, just really want to manage my anxiety and not let it get to the best of me. I wouldn't say it's impacted me to the point where I can't function, but it's more so a discomfort and an annoyance. And I just it's not the vibe. It is not the vibe. So my tip of the week is to be self-aware of how you are feeling in all aspects of your life and of you. So how are you feeling physically, emotionally, mentally? Really check in with yourself, and if you notice you aren't feeling super great in one area, make yourself an action plan on how to better that. Just be in this practice of being self aware of yourself as a whole and not neglecting it, and really getting into good habits of ensuring that you can work towards being your best self at almost all moments. We're always trying to better ourselves and make ourselves feel better. So just be really hyper aware and take actionable steps in order to mitigate whatever is going on. But let's get into my current obsessions, my current faves. So, also, I normally have a doc in front of me writing like the layout. And for some reason, my hungover brain, guys, we had a few too many tequila shots last night. It was my friend Michal's birthday. And so we drank a little much. We were up till 4:30. I woke up at 8. So I just keep blanking a little bit. So, current faves. My friend Audrey got me into sour candies. I bought myself some sour watermelons, the OG incredible candy. If you are not a sour watermelon girly, you need them. You need to go get them. I got them from this cool place in Toronto. So if you're in Toronto, hit it up. It's called Trap Market, although you can literally get them at Bulk Barn or anywhere. But I went into this place called Trap Market when I was getting Michal her birthday present, and now I'm just a candy girl. Normally I'm a chocolate girl, but lately my current fave is candy because of Audrey. I'm also obsessed with remaking Le Beau from Zinc. I don't know why I put those accents on, but I'm obsessed with it. I think I literally took it for lunch every single day this week. And on the note of being a prepared girly, that's also a current fave. My current fave is getting back into my routine, meal prepping my lunches, grocery shopping, making breakfast, making coffee from home. Guys, I literally made coffee every single day this week, except for Monday. I didn't. But Tuesday to Friday, I made coffee at home. The first coffee I bought out was today, and I've decided this is my new thing. I will make my coffee from home Monday through Friday. Friend dates, coffee dates, exception. But on the weekend, I can buy my coffee out if I want to. But Monday through Friday, I am making it at home because I finally pulled the trigger and I sold my old espresso machine and got the Breville Barista Pro. I think that's what it's called, the Barista Pro by Breville. I initially wanted this machine, and I let my dad convince me that I wanted a fully automatic machine, and the DeLonghi one was better. It was a great machine, but it was not what I wanted. And now I know that if I decide I want something, I'm not going to let someone else try to influence me to get something else, because I always still end up wanting the first thing, and I'm not going to let myself influence myself by changing my minds, because I always want the first thing that I decided. So I'm just starting to trust my gut more, but I am obsessed with my coffee machine. And I have Alfred beans in there right now, and it's just incredible, and the coffee tastes amazing. And then I'm using the Chobani vanilla oat milk, and it's so good. And normally I'm not someone who buys sweetened milks. I'm normally not someone who buys oat milk. I'm normally an almond milk girly over here. But it's just where it's at right now, and I'm thriving, and I love my coffee from home. I'm also obsessed with this ice cube tray that I got from Amazon, because I really miss having an ice maker in my fridge like I did at home, but I don't have one in my condo. And I only had the Nespresso ice tray, which is like the massive ice cubes, and it wasn't the vibe for me. First world problems. But I got this tray from Amazon. So essentially it has a silicone ice cube tray, which has like smaller cubes, like not super, super small, but smaller. And it sits on top of this Tupperware container. So you can make your ice and then you push it out. It's super easy because it's silicone. You push out the cubes into the tray and then you can put the into the container part, and then you put the tray on top, you refill it, and there's a lid. So, and then it comes with a little scooper. I'm sorry, that was a lot. But I'll link it in the show notes. And it's incredible. And now I like having, because I'm in iced coffee season mode. So I've been doing that. And then I have like the $3 venti reusable Starbucks cup. Makes you feel like you got Starbucks or coffee out. And I'm just a happy camper. Couldn't be more obsessed. I love my beans. I got 2 bags of Alfreds and I'm going to be so upset when they finish. But it's okay. I'm okay. It just gives me an excuse to have to travel to the States, to America. I feel weird calling it America. I call it the States. Let me know in the DMs if you call the USA, the US of A, the States or America. And if you are Canadian or American, because I feel like Americans call it America, but I feel like Canadians call it the States. Like, I'm going to the States. I feel like only Canadians call it the States, because I remember when my cousins came from South Africa, they were calling it America because they said they were going to America. And my final current fave are having fresh flowers in the apartment. I've been putting on my little coffee table, like bistro table, which will be my new dining table for my new condo, and on my dressing table in my bedroom. It makes a difference. It's the vibe. It brings me joy. Don't sit and wait around for a guy to buy you flowers, ladies. Just buy them for yourself. And if you're a guy and you want flowers, do it. No one's judging you. I think it's the vibe. And before I bring Kim on and let you listen to all of her incredibleness, I just want to let you know I'm recording at a table right now. I'm not currently lying on my bed, although when I was recording with Kim, I was totally and definitely lying on my bed. So we're making moves. We've upgraded the recording situation, but I shall let you listen to Kim. I'm going to go make myself some lunch, a bite. It's currently Saturday. We normally record this earlier in the week, but it's Saturday afternoon. And enjoy the episode. And here is Kim Johnson, the incredible Kim Johnson. I am here with Kim. Welcome to Morning Ray.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh my God, of course. If you guys don't know, or you haven't been listening to the pod, you would know that I haven't had a guest on for a really long time. So it's my honor to have Kim on the pod and to kind of take my guest virginity again, because I feel like I've been re-virginized over here. I think it's literally been being super busy can make it really easy to fall into a dinner time recipe rut, or even with your lunches. Any meal, honestly, can get you into a rut, especially with a busy schedule this fall. You can keep mealtime exciting with over 40 recipes to choose from every single week, so there's always something delicious to discover with HelloFresh. It's truly a no-brainer. It does all the shopping and meal planning for you. Ingredients arrive at your doorstep, pre-proportioned and ready to cook, along with pictured step-by-step recipe cards. It's never been easier. I personally love HelloFresh as a way to get exposure to new recipes, make my life a bit easier as a busy 20-year-old in the city. And I love that it's worry-free, it's super easy, it's convenient, and gets delivered straight to my door. Go to hellofresh.com/50ray and use code 50ray for 50% off plus free shipping. That's hellofresh.com/50RAE and use code 50ray 50RAE for 50% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit, and thank you for sponsoring today's episode of Morning Ray.
Celebrity voice impersonation not an endorsement. Why go to a single furniture store when you can go to Big Sandy Superstore? Shop and compare America's top 5 mattress brands, plus Nectar and Purple. And choose from over 22,000 in-stock appliances from the top brands at the guaranteed lowest price. Or furnish the room of your dreams with a large selection of American-built furniture. With financing plans for just about anyone, there's nowhere else quite like it. Big Sandy Superstore.
months since I've had a guest, and I
I
release episodes
know.
every week. So
I did notice that. So I was very honored to be your first guest in a while. And I'm happy to be here to like have someone to talk back to you when you say things. Happy to be that person.
I appreciate it. But for my listeners, in case they don't know who you are, I mean, they should, but in case they don't know, who are you? Where are you from? And what is your zodiac sign?
Yes. So I'm Kim. I live in New York. I'm from the DC area. I'm from Maryland originally. But I've been in New York for about 10 years now. I lead community at a group chat app called Geneva, which I can tell everyone all about. We're basically a chat app for everything from sororities, book clubs, to brand ambassador programs and wellness group chats and all of that good stuff. And my zodiac sign, I am a Taurus sun, Virgo moon, Scorpio rising.
I like how you gave me the full chart. It's like,
Yeah. I really, we had to go deep, you know?
Yes, and one of the girls that actually has, I'm 95% sure on this, correct me if I'm wrong, that has a little group chat on the platform, Kate, was on my podcast, I think 3 months ago now.
Yeah, Kate
So
from CMOS Girlies.
yes,
Yes, she's an icon. She's truly a queen. We love her. We
I
love
love
the
her.
CMOS girlies.
Yes,
They're the
yes.
best. She and Emma have truly started a wellness revolution on Geneva.
It's great. I love them so much. Kate, I love her chaotic energy. I think my favorite thing ever was she posted like this chaotic like get ready with me before she went on a date on TikTok, and she's literally talking about like her fungus, and she comes back from her date and it's gone viral, and I'm pretty sure this date was with West Elm Caleb. So like I think it just adds to
Yes, it's funny. I think there's like a lot of, she is like a New York girl. There's a lot of like, I feel like New York things that are happening. I always feel like I find my way either to them through Kate or find Kate in them somewhere. So yeah, she's pretty iconic.
Yes. But today I'm really excited to talk about this because the topic that we're going to discuss, because it's something I've started to notice as someone who has gotten her degree in marketing, works in social media as like my side hustle and my main hustle. Everything's just like online. My title is a marketing coordinator, but I'm technically like a community manager. So it works hand in hand. And I've even noticed this, a lot of TikTok stars in particular are really blowing up, and it's because they're really forming this engaged community. They're forming this team. It's not just an audience anymore. It's more so like this really dedicated community that not only supports the creator, but also supports each other. So Kim, I really wanted to ask you how to get started in building a community. What does a community mean, and why should we want to be a part of communities, especially
Yeah.
online?
Oh, heavy hitting questions to start. Um, let's see. Okay, so I'll take the first piece, how to get started. I think, I guess if I pull all the way back, like I think that we talk a lot about community today. It's like such a hot buzzword nowadays, but and we think of it as new in a lot of ways, but it's really not, right? Like it's really actually like one of the most core fundamental human things. And I think what's cool about where we are now is that we are in a place where there's so much innovation, especially when it comes to like the digital space, around building communities and how to really reach people in ways that are meaningful to them and, have real impact. How to get started. I don't know if there's one way to get started building a community. The thing that I think is really interesting, and is a bit, I guess, counterintuitive to a lot of people, is I think that the difference between when you have a social following and a bunch of people who are engaging with you on, whether it's Instagram or TikTok or what have you, and building a community is like, when you're building social, it's all about who you reach and reaching as many people as possible and creating stuff that can see as many eyes as possible. And I think community is a little bit of the opposite, right? It's like, I always tell people like niche is good. And like the more niche you create, the better, because ultimately, if it doesn't really have a really distinct value that matters a ton to some people and doesn't matter to others, then you're not really connecting people around anything. And so I think, going back to Kate and Emma from Sea Moss Girlies, I actually think they're a really perfect example of people who have built really engaged community in so many different places. Geneva is one of them, but on social, on Geneva, IRL now, they're doing a lot of events. And I think that the reason that they have built that is because they have such a like niche take on wellness that is so hyper relevant for their people, their demo girls who are in similar stages of life as them. And there's these really kind of like specific and like just totally specific to their community, like jokes and references and all of that. And those are the kinds of communities that I think thrive. And so for people who are interested in building community, I think you start with the why and start less with the like what it is or the how. Because if you're starting with the why, then you know that you'll be bringing people together around something that really matters to them and ultimately that matters to you. And I don't really think you can build a meaningful community if you aren't that interested in the topic yourself. So yeah, that was a little bit of a ramble, but that's what I would say about like how to get started. And why is it important? I mean, I think it's important like all the time. And, we are a part of so many different kinds of communities as people, even if we don't think of them as that, right? When you go to school and your neighborhood, all of those things are communities and they take a lot of different shapes and sizes and, have a lot of different kind of iterations. But I think now in particular, and I think the reason why we're seeing so many communities pop up now is because one, obviously we're online a lot. And so people want to be able to find the people who are interested in the same things as them or who are like them digitally, beyond their physical location. And two, I think that there's just, as I said before, a lot of innovation that is happening online. There's a lot of less great things too, but I think that allows for people to discover and become interested in things that they might not have otherwise had access to. And that curiosity that's like constantly being that the internet basically like constantly allows us to facilitate is really core to like, I think what a lot of really strong communities are doing today.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of us are kind of being attracted. I don't even know if that's the right word. I can't think of attracted something to online communities, especially with the pandemic and especially with us like having been isolated for so long or now working remotely from home. Like everything is online, and also with the development of Web 3.0 and that whole like metaverse space. I don't know too much about it. I know a little bit because my one boss is obsessed with it, so I hear about it all day. But it's another way to seek human connection, even if it is through a screen. I personally have made so many of my close friends through the internet and through communities online, whether it be a really established community or it just be being super busy can make it really easy to fall into a dinner time recipe rut, or even with your lunches. Any meal, honestly, can get you into a rut, especially with a busy schedule this fall. You can keep mealtime exciting with over 40 recipes to choose from every single week, so there's always something delicious to discover with HelloFresh. It's truly a no-brainer. It does all the shopping and meal planning for you. Ingredients arrive at your doorstep, pre-proportioned and ready to cook, along with pictured step-by-step recipe cards. It's never been easier. I personally love HelloFresh as a way to get exposure to new recipes, make my life a bit easier as a busy 20-year-old in the city. And I love that it's worry-free, it's super easy, it's convenient, and gets delivered straight to my door. Go to hellofresh.com/50ray and use code 50ray for 50% off plus free shipping. That's hellofresh.com/50RAE and use code 50ray 50RAE for 50% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit, and thank you for sponsoring today's episode of Morning Ray.
Celebrity voice impersonation not an endorsement. Why go to a single furniture store when you can go to Big Sandy Superstore? Shop and compare America's top 5 mattress brands, plus Nectar and Purple. And choose from over 22,000 in-stock appliances from the top brands at the guaranteed lowest price. Or furnish the room of your dreams with a large selection of American-built furniture. With financing plans for just about anyone, there's nowhere else quite like it. Big Sandy Superstore.
Like people that are on the internet and end up intermingling on the internet. The listeners know I went on 2 trips, one to New York and then one recently to Scottsdale and LA, and it was with 2 girls, Trinity and Kaylee. We literally had never met before until we were in the airport going to New York.
No way. No
Yes.
way.
So Kaylee is from Ottawa, so it's around 5 hours north of Toronto where I am.
Yeah.
And then Trinity is from Vancouver, which is all the way on the west coast. And we met up in Toronto, flew to New York, ended up bonding, like felt like we had known each other forever. And then we immediately, like, kid you not, like a week after coming home, booked our next trip. And now, like, we have all these other trips, like, planned out. And that's just, like, because we were, like, involved in, like, the same community of, like, being health and wellness lifestyle creators on Instagram and TikTok and being a part of, like, the Black girl trend and, like, hot girl walks and, like, all of that, like, niche stuff on the internet. And that, like, brought us into a real connection in our real lives. And then our own followings and communities have, like, intermingled and they like to see us together, which is, like, kind of cool.
I'm obsessed with that. I mean, it's true. Like, I think, you know, obviously Geneva is an app, we're a tech platform, but I think we very much believe that there isn't anything that beats, like, IRL experience when it comes to community. And I think that, you know, pre-pandemic, we were kind of in this space where, and, you know, at my old job, this was definitely the case where it was like we would have events and bring people together in person, and digital community became a way to extend the connections and relationships that were made in person and have, you know, give people access to them when they couldn't be there together physically. And now we've kind of, like, flipped the switch a little bit, and we're in this phase where people are meeting virtually, you know, and building friendships and relationships. And then, you know, because of the phase we're in the world now, like, now just able to see each other and meet each other for the first time. And it's such an interesting evolution of, I think, where community, especially digital community, has gone over the past few years. And I think it'll be really interesting to see what that kind of IRL to digital balance looks like, especially to your point with, like, Web3 and just all of these kind of evolving pieces.
Yeah, I feel like Geneva is, like, kind of like the incubator to, like, create, like, this, like, community online, and then it gets taken into the real world, as opposed to, I feel like, before the real world, opposed to, like, before, it's not real. As before, like, you would become a part of a community, say you danced, so you had your dance community, and then maybe then you made a group on Facebook where you could share things, or you made a group chat on, like, iMessage or, like, WhatsApp, and it was, like, in the reverse, versus now, like, it starts on Geneva and then, like, you have a meetup or you have an event, or, like, some of the girls decide to go to the movies together or something.
It's really sweet. It's really sweet. We've seen a lot, actually, of, like, people on TikTok who are like, I just moved to London, or I just moved to San Diego or Charlotte, and I want to make friends. Like, who else is in this city who's, like, post-grad and young and wants to connect? Those homes, like, pop off because there's so many people locally who, like, just want to meet other people who are like-minded and, you know, interested in the same things. And I think the vulnerability of that, like, the vulnerability of being like, oh, I'm going to join the space because, like, I know that there's other young, like, early mid-20s women here who just moved to the city too, who are looking for, you know, friends or people to go to a drink with or a movie, whatever. I think that shared kind of, like, vulnerability and just, like, it makes the space really intimate, even though, you know, it could be 5,000 people, which is super, super interesting to see. I'm curious, like for you, do you feel like, I know you're a part of like really kind of like wellness, health communities online, but I'm curious if there are any others that you like wish you had access to more or like really would love to be a part of?
I feel like the fashion or even beauty communities, I feel like those were like the original communities that existed online. Because even growing up, I watched beauty gurus and all like these
Yes.
fashion
Same.
YouTubers.
Yeah.
And I feel like those communities have become so elite. Like now it's not really like mainstream fashion. It's more designers like working with Chanel and YSL and Louis Vuitton. Like even like you see Emma Chamberlain, like she works with Louis Vuitton. You see Charlie D'Amelio working with Prada. So like being able to tap into that, because those, as much as I love wellness and I love health and um sharing my life, my first passion was fashion. Like I wanted to go into
Yeah.
fashion, but obviously I don't really have a network in that space in
Yeah.
terms of friends or even professionals, like business contacts. So like if I were to have a connection somehow into that and be able to connect with those creators or those people in the industry, I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, that's super cool. I definitely think that I feel like I could talk forever about like the evolution of the like influencer YouTuber to Instagram creator to next. But like, um, yeah, it's so interesting to see how like being a creator has evolved and in some ways become a lot harder and in some ways become more attainable.
Mm-hmm.
But like what that has done to certain industries that were in the forefront of like influencer world on like back, 10 years ago.
Yes, going off of that, I feel like before an influencer's following was spoken about as an audience, like it was always an audience. It was never really a community. But someone who doesn't really know what the difference is may see them as interchangeable and as the same thing. Um, Kim, would you maybe be able to discuss like what separates a community from an audience and why it's more beneficial to want a community over just having an audience?
Yeah, I can definitely. I think it's interesting because they're definitely different. And I think right now there's a bit of a narrative that like an audience is negative and a community is positive. And I don't necessarily think that's the case. I actually think, especially for creators, like audience is essential, right? Like you need to
Mm-hmm.
reach people in order to find your people. Um, but I think in terms of the difference, when you think about social media platforms, and kind of similar to what I was saying before, it's like you're creating the content, you're sharing stuff out. And so it's almost like you're on a bit of a stage, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
have people who are viewing it and consuming it and thinking about it and, maybe criticizing it, loving it, whatever the case. But both because of the fact that they're an audience and their connection point to your content is simply you, but also because of how social media works, it's pretty kind of one to many, right? Like you're creating the
Mm-hmm.
content, you share it out with people, and then they engage with it however makes sense for them. And when you think about building a community, I think of it as that like one layer deeper relationship with your people where they are coming together around a thing that is a shared love, whether it's health and wellness, whether it's fashion, and you are kind of like the connector of the people.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the real magic of building a community, especially as a creator who has a niche or kind of like a specific interest or a specific kind of angle to what they share and what they create for their audience, is like if you can bring a community together to have those conversations, and that those conversations can go on whether you're present or not, such a good indicator of the fact that you've built a community, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
self-sustaining, and it's all about conversation amongst people and not just sharing with them. And it's really cool to see. We have a lot of podcasters and health and wellness creators, book talkers who are building communities on Geneva where they are building spaces that maybe they're the ones who brought a lot of the people there, but they're not the ones that are like sustaining those spaces. Those spaces
Mm-hmm.
are all about the conversation and the connection that's happening between people. So I would probably say that that's kind of the biggest differentiator. And the only thing that I would add is like, I truly believe for creators that if you are able to build a sustained and engaged community, you can go on to do anything. I've seen creators starting to build brands now because they're like, we have the people, we have the customers and the
Mm-hmm.
experts. And I think it'll really be, in my opinion, the future of what it means to be building a holistic approach to the internet as a creator.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. Um, Say I'm someone who consumes content and I want to get on Geneva and I want to connect with people. How would I go about doing that? What are the best practices? How can I get like the best experience out of it? And then after that, I want to go in from like the creator perspective of like getting on
Yes.
Geneva.
Okay, I love that. Okay, so if you are someone who is interested in
Being super busy can make it really easy to fall into a dinner time recipe rut, or even with your lunches. Any meal, honestly, can get you into a rut, especially with a busy schedule this fall. You can keep mealtime exciting with over 40 recipes to choose from every single week, so there's always something delicious to discover with HelloFresh. It's truly a no-brainer. It does all the shopping and meal planning for you. Ingredients arrive at your doorstep, pre-proportioned and ready to cook, along with pictured step-by-step recipe cards. It's never been easier. I personally love HelloFresh as a way to get exposure to new recipes, make my life a bit easier as a busy 20-year-old in the city. And I love that it's worry-free, it's super easy, it's convenient, and gets delivered straight to my door. Go to hellofresh.com/50ray and use code 50ray for 50% off plus free shipping. That's hellofresh.com/50RAE and use code 50RAE, 50RAE for 50% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit, and thank you for sponsoring today's episode of Morning Ray.
When you download the Kroger app, you have easy access to savings every day. Get the most out of weekly sales and receive personalized coupons to save on your favorite items, all while earning 1 fuel point for every $1 spent. Kroger makes it easy to save while you shop, whether it's in-store or online, so you get the most value out of every trip, every time. Download the Kroger app now to save big on your next purchase. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Must have a digital account to redeem offers. Restrictions may apply. See site for details.
Just like going on Geneva and kind of finding your people. I will say it's a little tricky today. We just launched, so everyone should check it out, a little home discovery feature in the app. So if you have an iPhone, this will roll out on other apps too soon. But if you have an iPhone, you can go in and find a bunch of homes that are public and open. And so there's a fashion one in there. I'll send you the link to that one so that you can join. I think you'd really like it, actually. There's a fashion one in there. There's a book club. There's a like political community. There's an environmental activism group. So a total range of groups and communities that people can take part in and find the one or ones that work for them. But at the same time, the other thing I'll say is I think that way more people can start communities than they probably think. And so, I've seen so many people who are like, I don't really have an audience. I'm not a creator. I don't have a big social media following, but they've created these incredible, like small, but really powerful and meaningful workout groups or accountability groups. And so that's been really cool to see too, right? Like you don't have to have a ton of followers on social in order to build a really meaningful, impactful community, even if it's just like a few people. Or you could just make a group chat with your friends about The Bachelor. Like you could do that too. It's whatever your vibe is, or The Ultimatum. I feel like that's like the most recent of the shows. So you have options.
I love that. And I know I have quite a few girls that are looking to build more of a community and like strengthen their community base. And would most likely be interested in getting started on Geneva. So if they wanted to create like their own room, how would they do that on the app?
How would they do it? It's pretty easy. Well, I'll give people the logistics. So the logistics are that we have an iPhone app, we have an Android app, the boring stuff, we have an iPhone app, an Android app, a desktop app. So, if they want to go on their phone and do it, that's great. If they want to just like go on their web and go on Chrome, that's great too. It's their prerogative. But honestly, I say this all the time about pretty much everything, but there is nothing to it but to do it when it comes to making a home. We call every community a home on Geneva. You make your space, and I actually think it's really fun. I'm going to do it with you after this week, Alana, and like set up your home with you.
Yes.
But it's really fun. And you basically, the way Geneva works is you have your group, which is your home. And then within it, you have all these subspaces, which we call rooms, basically like channels for those who know Slack or Discord or anything like that. But what's fun is that you actually have 5 different room types in Geneva. So you have chat rooms, which are, we know kind of like your group chat. You have post rooms, which are a little bit more structured for the important stuff. You have audio rooms, which is like a phone call, video rooms, which is like a FaceTime, broadcast rooms, which is like a private Instagram live. So you have basically this entire range of ways to communicate digitally, and you can kind of pick and choose, I kind of want to have a video space for my friends, or I don't want to have video at all and I want to have just chat. It's totally whatever you want to make. And I'm biased, but I think it's quite fun. So really the best examples of people going in and just starting their space that I hear are just people who go start playing around, make their space, invite their friends, and then it's flexible, so you can change it up, you can evolve it over time. And I think that's how community is too. It's like never really done. It's never really kind of like set in stone.
And for someone who is maybe unsure of how to build this community, whether it be on Geneva or whether it be on another platform, do you have any like words of wisdom of like things that people can do to help foster this community platform? I know something I noticed that I started doing was when I did like Ask Me Anythings or Q&As.
Yeah.
I added text on my screen like saying like, you can literally ask me anything. You can ask me about relationships. You can ask me about this, that, and the other. And when I started answering those questions, I felt like my community felt more comfortable to be a bit more vulnerable with me and ask those questions. I even started this thing. Originally it was called Sunday Secrets. Now my friend Hunter gave me this idea of best teas, like tea, like spilling the tea, of
cute.
where every Sunday, now it's only been every Sunday, it's only been 2 weeks, but we're gonna keep doing it, where
own it, girl, own it.
Spill their secrets, like something like they give me a confession or something, and some of it's like crazy, like hooking up with my boss, like stuff like that, and I react to it on stories, and it stays like totally anonymous, but like everyone is like responding to being like, oh my god, like I live for this, like I want to send stuff in, or like stuff like that. So if you could provide any ways of how to foster a community as someone who maybe isn't totally sure but really wants to, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, it's so funny. You actually hit the nail on the head with what you're doing, which is like one of the number one things that I would say is starting something that feels kind of like ritualistic in a way. Like it's something that people know to expect. It like happens on a regular basis. I think those are really, really meaningful because it gives, not to get like super woo-woo about it, but it gives people like a sense of consistency in this thing that exists in their lives. And I think especially when you have, a community online where it's like, you're not connected in person, there's so much kind of gray area sometimes, having rituals that like are comfortable, that people know they can go to, and they know that they're going to get those like little fun, juicy stories on Sundays. Like those kinds of things are really, really valuable. So I would say that. The second thing I would say is just spending time. I think, again, your example is a really good one of this, but spending time really like getting to know your people is really, really important. I think I'll speak to people who will be like, I'm trying to build a community and I don't know where to start, but they won't have spoken to the people who they're trying to build it for. And I'm like, well, if you don't know what they want, then you're going to have a really hard time knowing what to do for them. So I think that is like it can be the unsexy. I mean, when I was in my first community job, I was like, and I don't even know if this is allowed anymore with like some of the rules, but I was like emailing people who were like top customers. And I was like, hey, I'm so glad you're a customer. You want to talk on the phone? Like I was just trying to understand who our people were and what they cared about and like what they wanted from us. And so I think that's a really, there's no way to like automate that or like make it easier. It's just like really spending the time. And then the last thing that I would probably say is I really don't think that there is any end state for community. I think that, community is such an interesting piece of the kind of marketing industry, I guess, because it gets now so conflated with social or so conflated with growth sometimes. But at its core, there is no like, end state and no like easy way to quantify what a successful community is because they're all different. And so the thing that I would say is like being really attentive and knowing that your community is always going to be evolving and in flux and that's okay. And that you can respond to what people are interested in or not interested in and change and evolve. And that's a good thing. I always tell people like leading a community is the most humbling thing in the world because you will know really quick if people are not interested in what you are doing. And it can be embarrassing. And you're like, well, okay, I got to switch this up because clearly people are not into it. But that's part of the fun of it. You work to figure out what.
Being super busy can make it really easy to fall into a dinner time recipe rut, or even with your lunches. Any meal, honestly, can get you into a rut, especially with a busy schedule this fall. You can keep mealtime exciting with over 40 recipes to choose from every single week, so there's always something delicious to discover with HelloFresh. It's truly a no-brainer. It does all the shopping and meal planning for you. Ingredients arrive at your doorstep, pre-proportioned and ready to cook, along with pictured step-by-step recipe cards. It's never been easier. I personally love HelloFresh as a way to get exposure to new recipes, make my life a bit easier as a busy 20-year-old in the city. And I love that it's worry-free, it's super easy, it's convenient, and gets delivered straight to my door. Go to hellofresh.com/50ray and use code 50ray for 50% off plus free shipping. That's hellofresh.com/50RAE and use code 50ray 50RAE for 50% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit, and thank you for sponsoring today's episode of Morning Ray.
Hello and welcome to The Kroger Show. At Kroger, everyone wins when it comes to saving big. Because when you order online through the Kroger app, you get the same great prices, deals, and rewards on pickup or delivery that you do in-store with no hidden fees or markups. So no matter how you shop, you'll always save big at Kroger. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Save big on your favorites with the Buy 5 or More, Save $1 each sale. Simply buy 5 or more participating items and save $1 each with your card. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
What creates value for people, what really brings them meaning,
Yeah, for sure. And even in content creation, so many of my friends are like, well, I don't know what to post. I'm like, well, if you are barely posting, it's going to take you a hell of a lot longer to figure it out in terms of, one, what you enjoy posting, two, what the algorithm likes, and three, what the people that do follow you like. So if you are able to post once a day, or even like on TikTok, like a lot of people like suggest like posting as much as you can, like say if we're putting a number to it, like 4, 5, 6 times a day, the faster you're going to be able to figure out what you like recording or creating, what the audience likes, what the algorithm likes. So you just got to like try it. I always say like launch fast and adjust later. Like you'll figure it out as you go. That's any successful person. That's how they
Yeah.
did it. They didn't like sit here and research a bunch and then wait until it was the perfect moment. That's not how it works.
Totally. Oh my God, you are preaching, honey. That is so true. And I think that that is like, it's hard, you know, because when we're, how old are you? Can I ask?
Yeah, I'm 22.
Okay, so 22, I'm 29. I used to feel like I was like the youngest person in the room. Now I feel like I'm like the oldest person in the room all the time. I have no idea what happened.
You're not
But
old.
that's neither here nor there. Even, you know, I think for me, and I can imagine, I'm curious if it's the same for you, like it can be a really hard balance of, you know, seeing people and things like launch all the time and people putting a lot of stuff out into the world and being like, I need to move faster. But also, you know, nothing is ever going to be perfect. And so this, like finding that balance for yourself, I feel like everyone sits in a kind of different end of the spectrum or somewhere on that spectrum. But it's a really interesting, I think you're so right. And it's such an interesting kind of challenge, especially for young people like us who are, you know, interested in a lot of things. Again, I think the internet has, you know, if it's done one great thing, it's like allowed for people who are curious to like learn a lot, have access to a lot more information and cultures than they otherwise would have. And so finding that balance for yourself is like so key.
100%. And we're going to wrap things up. So I always like to ask my guest to leave one piece of advice or wisdom that you want to leave the listeners with. It can be related to today's episode and everything we spoke about. It can be a motto you live by. It could be a quote, a resource, whatever you want. If they only take one thing away from this episode, what would it be, Kim?
Oh my God.
No pressure.
Right. I think the thing that I would probably tell people to take away is that like evolution and testing and trying things and changing course if things don't work out the way that you want is good and okay and actually like extremely normal. I think, again, we have this idea partially, maybe largely because of the internet that like things are perfect upon first try, and that's never the case. It's not the case for community. It's not the case for content, like you said, and it's just like not really the case in life. And I think that my biggest advice would be to like lead with gut. I always tell people that going with my gut is my hard skill. I think it is an underrated skill that people should really use more. Especially young women, and not feel like they have to listen to what other people say. If you know that something feels off, you go with your gut. But regardless, I think, you know, lead with your gut, and you're probably gonna fuck up at some point, and that's perfectly fine. And that, you know, you gotta just like keep pushing. You know, nothing to it but to do it.
Yes.
I have a lot of sayings.
I stand behind trusting your gut instinct, and I feel like it's something I'm starting to actually trust, because before I would go against it and trust other people's opinions or whatever they were saying, and then I would always end up going back to my gut instinct. And so now I'm really challenging myself to think about what I want and what my gut is telling me and act on that decision. Obviously not be rash in my decisions, but trust my inner intuition and know that it's going to lead me to where I'm supposed to be. And whenever I have acted on it firsthand, I'm always much happier and much satisfied, and things go the way that I pictured them going most of the time. Obviously, sometimes things don't go to plan, but again, for me, I agree that everything happens as it should, and there's no such thing as failure. Like, you're always learning from your mistakes, and if you quote unquote fail, you're most likely not going to make that mistake again, because you've learned from it and you've grown from it.
Yeah. And I think that like it's really hard to actually learn for real if the mistake, quote unquote, is something that you didn't really believe in the first place. Like, you learn by being like, I have really strong conviction in this thing, and maybe I'm going to be wrong. But if I am wrong, I can really understand that more than if I'm going with, you know, going with the flow, going with the kind of status quo. And then having really no idea, like, why did I even do that in the first place, and what made it not work for me? So yeah, I totally agree. Everything is learnings. I think that about everything in life: dating, work, you name it.
100% on dating with you.
We could do a whole other episode on just that alone,
Dating. It's a special. It holds a special place in my heart.
Oh my God. Yeah. Everything is learnings.
Yes. And Kim, where can the listeners find you? Deck yourself out, plug yourself out.
Yeah. I am Kim Johnson _, because I have a very common name on Instagram. I'm _Kim Johnson on Twitter, and Geneva is at Geneva on all channels: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, you name it. That's where you can find us.
Perfect. And I'll have everything linked below in the below. It's as if it's a YouTube video. Below. On your phone, on your computer, wherever you're listening, it will be in the show notes. You can click it, not below. If you look below, it's probably yourself. So it's been a long day.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Well, thank you so much for coming on Morning Ray. It was a pleasure having you on. You're probably going to have to come back on for this dating episode because we're just going to have to chat through that. But Thank you so much for coming on. If you guys like this episode of Morning Ray, make sure to rate, comment, and subscribe. Rate, review, and subscribe. Wow, it's been a while. As that's how you can help support the pod. I love you guys so much, and we'll chat soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.